Today we're going to look at solving squares and cubes. But before we delve into solving, let's just do a quick review. So perfect squares are whole numbers with an exponent of 2. Perfect cubes are whole numbers with an exponent of 3. A square root of a number is indicated with a radical sign. A square root is the inverse or the opposite of a perfect square. To find the square root, find the number when multiplied by itself that equals to the number under the radical symbol. The cubed root of a number is indicated by the following symbol. When solving equation, use the inverse of the root to isolate the variable. Let's take a look at the area of a perfect square. So the area of a perfect square is any number that shows the area of a square. So the square root is the side length. So we're looking at the area of that square is 16 and the square root of 16 is 4, which is the side length. Let's look at the area of the square is 9. So the side length will be 3. So the square root of 9 is 3. Looking at the area of 4, the square root of 4 would be 2. Area of a square is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Now let's look at the perfect cube. The perfect cube shows the volume of a cube. So the cube root is the side length. So the volume of that cube, which is 8, the cube root of 8 is 2. That is the side length. So the volume of this cube is 27 with the side length of 3 times 3 times 3. So the cube root of 27 is 3. Volume of 1. The side length is 1. 1 times 1 times 1. So the cube root of 1 is 1. Let's begin equation for our square and cubes. When showing an equation, we have to show all the values that make the equation true. All right, example 1. Remember, squaring a number and square rooting the same number are inverse operations. Okay, let's solve the following equation. X squared is equal to 169. To undo a square, we must do the inverse operation, which is the square root each side of the equation. Anytime we square root both sides of an equation, we must show a positive and a negative answer that make the equation true. So when we undo a square, we would find the square root of both sides. So x would equal a positive negative 13. Example 2. Remember, cubing a number and cube rooting the same number are inverse operations. So let's solve the following equation. So x cubed is equal to 27. So once again, to undo a cube, we must do the inverse operation, which is to cube root each side of the equation. Remember, what you do to one side, you must do to the next. When we cube root both sides of an equation, there is only one answer. So when we find the cube root of 27, x is equal to 3. All right, let's try a couple examples. X squared minus 5 is equal to 95. Now if you think back to a two-step equation, this is exactly what this is. So we would add 5 to both sides. That will cancel. Let's bring down our x squared is equal to 100. Then we're going to square root both sides, leaving us with x is equal to positive negative 10. Remember, we need to have a positive and a negative answer. Example number 2. 2x cubed is equal to 2000. This is a simple one-step equation. So we're going to divide both sides by 2, bring down x cubed, which is equal to 1000. We're going to cube root both sides. X is equal to 10. It's your turn. Pause the video and give it a try. Okay, let's see what you got for the first one. I am going to square root both sides, leaving me with x is equal to a positive negative 16. Square root both sides. It's in a fraction form, so I would have to find the square root of 49, then the square root of 64, leaving me with x is equal to positive negative 7/8. Square root both sides, find the square root of 324 and 400, x is equal to 9/10. If you notice that when you square root 324 and 400, you got 18 over 20. So you are going to simplify. Whenever you can simplify, you need to simplify. We're going to cube root both sides. So the cube root of 125 is 5. The cube root x cubed is equal to 1 over 216. Then we're going to cube root both sides, leaving us with x is equal to 1/6. We're going to cube root both sides, cube root of 512 and the cube root of 729. When we cube root that, x is equal to 8/9. Hope that's making sense. Hope you got it all right. Remember, you can always pause, rewind, rewatch as many times as you like.